What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Unleashed Alchemy. Look, it is another new day. It is a new moment. Again, take care of yourself. I cannot say that enough. So, in this episode, we're going to talk specifically about our nervous system and what that has to do with spirituality. So, let's get into this episode. The first thing that I want to start off with is I want to remind you that when you're going through spiritual elevation, that reminds us that our bodies are energy. So when you feel the effects of that elevation, you feel it internally. There are moments when there aren't enough words in the English language or maybe any language that will help you articulate how that internal shift feels. That's okay. You are not going crazy, all right? Hence the reason for this channel, one of the reasons for this channel, all right? But the effects of the internal shift, you can feel it. And that comes from your spiritual elevation. The reason for that is because when you're going through spiritual elevation, we've talked about this before, you are shedding an old identity. And your nervous system is trying to find and does find this balance. It's trying to recalibrate itself while you're shedding the old identity and that new identity is emerging. All right. So that's the reason why your internal can feel a little rocky. It is okay. All right. Now, the other part of that, which is the real reason for this episode, during your spiritual elevation, there are chords that need to be burned away, never to form again. And you're thinking, okay, what are you talking about, chords? Chords, attachments are attachments. Attachments to what? Attachments to anything that you can possibly think of. These chords need to be burned away because the chords are attached to this old identity. So what are the chords? Let's give examples. Chords, we already know the first thing: relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, perhaps business partnerships that need to be disintegrated because it's too attached to that old identity and it no longer serves your elevation. You need to let that go. You could be attached to where you live. You could be attached to your hometown, and Spirit is calling you beyond that, but because you're so attached to that, that cord has to be disintegrated. Not just cut, because if it's cut, it can be reformed, but we need to disintegrate it. So, because this is vital to our new dimension. This is vital to our new identity. It's vital because that new identity is placing us on a platform to experience a new existence. All right, to experience a new way of being, thinking, doing, and living. All right. So, because our bodies are energy, that disintegration, it can feel like a loss. It can feel like a massive loss. A massive loss. Why? Because that cord connection, it represented our old identity that was settled in our nervous system. So now we're in this identity shift and we're allowing this new operating system to come on board in our nervous system. So our bodies have to adjust. because of our humanness, there is a sense of sadness that we observe because that connection is no longer. That's fine. It does not, that disruption that we feel, that sadness that we feel, that mourning that we feel, it does not block the unleashing of our new identity. All of that is a part of it. So we cannot be afraid to feel like, we cannot be afraid for that disintegration to feel like a loss, because that is from our humanness. That's fine. It can feel like, as I said, it can feel like a loss. It can feel like a disruption. So rather than asking, okay, well, now that that relationship, whatever the nature of the relationship is, now that that's over, instead of asking, okay, now what do I do? The main question that I want to present to you, a more important question that I'd like to present to you is, instead of asking, now what do I do? You ask, okay, what does my soul need? And what you may find is that as soon as you ask that question, you may feel tired, which is your soul, your body telling you that you just need to go take a nap. You may feel a nudge to just go outside. To go where? It doesn't matter. Just be outside. Okay? Be outside with nature. It could mean, as soon as you ask that question, you may feel the urge to cry. And you, while the tears are flowing, you may be thinking, well, where are these tears coming from? Just let the tears flow. Because again, you're asking, when you ask that question, what does my soul need? You have opened up so much magic and so much liberation for yourself. You have no idea. So we got to get used to asking, what does my soul need? Rather than saying, okay, what do I do now? Because I'm feeling this disruption. I have this loss. I had to get rid of this person. I had to change my location. I had to get rid of this business. Now what do I do? No. What does my soul need? When you ask that question, you've now created space for your nervous system to recalibrate. That gives you the space to mourn the loss, to mourn the disruption. Now, I'm going to say that this might rattle a few of you, which is good. It may mean that this chord disintegration, part of that may mean that you're getting rid of pictures that remind you of this relationship that you once had. It may mean that you do have to take that extreme measure. Your ego's not going to understand that. People around you are not going to understand that. But your soul is going to know, okay, this is what needs to happen. So that was a side note. So when you ask the question, what does my soul need? It creates a space for nervous system recalibration so that you can mourn the loss, give yourself the space to cry, give yourself the space to just sit in silence and ask yourself, okay, what do I need now? What you may need to, for a moment, recall what you enjoyed about that particular relationship. Again, it doesn't matter what the nature of the relationship was. You need to give yourself to say goodbye, which is why I use the, perhaps for some of you, extreme example of actually throwing away pictures that remind you of that relationship, that you need to get rid of the pictures, toss the pictures, say goodbye to it. That was the old identity. It no longer serves you anymore. And then the third thing that asking that question provides for you is that it gives you the space to honor your elevation and your shift. It gives you the space to just sit in, okay, this new identity has come on board. This new operating system is settling. I now recognize my magic. I now recognize my spiritual gifts. I now recognize that my intuition is stronger. I now recognize that my third eye is now opening even more. And I'm ready. And you could be saying all of that while you are still crying, while you are still mourning the chord disintegration. All right. So I wanted to drop you that message, give you that message to remind you that part of the spiritual elevation does involve chord disintegration, not cord cutting, okay, but burning those cords away, because the cord represented a part of you, an identity, old programming that will not serve you, okay, that does not serve you in this next iteration of your life. All right. So if you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments. Don't forget, I also still take one-on-one sessions. Okay, if you feel like you need closer support, all right, in this elevation, in this transformation process, all right. Also, don't forget, Unleashed Alchemy Mystery School is now open for enrollment. It is a monthly membership, all right, that provides you with all the resources that you need to bridge the unseen with the seen, all right. And until next time, cheers.